Welcome to another episode of Lifelong Learner. This is the Out of Class edition with Ben, Janesh, and Matt.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Lifelong Learner. Welcome, Matt. Welcome, Ben. How we doing?
Am I good, boys?
Morning.
So you too, Matty. Mate, let's start with you, Matt. What's happening? What's happening in Indo?
Last week, before I come back to Melbourne, so lots and lots of meetings. Met with a couple of builders yesterday. We're searching for the contractor at the moment. So, yeah, went to this building site, met the builder, and then went to various projects of his. And, yeah, it was interesting. And then went and met another builder as well. So just looking at buildings all day. A little overwhelming. I can't really tell the difference between a good build and a really, really shit build at the moment. No, I can tell the difference between a good build and a really bad build. I can't tell the difference between, a medium one. Yeah.
That comes in 10 years when you look at the build in 10 years' time. And
exactly. So I was cruising around with Alejandro, the designer, and he's just pointing out heaps of, this is what you're not looking for. This is good. This is bad. And and then I think we're going to chat on the phone this afternoon with Kat, so that we don't have to relay all the information and step by step. But we found one good guy, I think. He's starting out. He's not like our challenge is if they're a really good builder, they're either busy or our project's too small for them. And if they're a really new builder, our project's too big for them. So we're trying to find the middle person who's been doing it for a while, who's maybe starting to scale up, who wants a slightly bigger project, but who's good. So we're just hunting for this person.
Right, exciting. Part of the journey.
Yeah. I think so.
I remember when I built my house, I own a built, and, we've got the team together. I just had the best time. You
enjoyed it?
Oh, I just
great news.
I was on site. I'd get up every morning, make a tea, meet the boys. They'll all arrive at 7:30. They'd make their coffee when they first arrived, set their gear up, and we'd chat away and plan for the day. And then they'd get on with it. I'd come back at lunchtime and catch up with them. How are you traveling? And just a great group of builders, carpenters and plumbers and electricians. And it was just a great project. You're going to really love it, Matty.
I hope so. You hear people love to share the other story,
Right,
the disaster story. So
that's because they give up responsibility of the build to somebody else. And I was chatting with someone yesterday about this, and we talked about it on my radio show, RPPFM 98.7 on the dial. You can stream direct from rppfm.com.au/stream. I was talking about this on the radio yesterday. People give up their health to their GP, and you could do that 100 years ago when they used to put a hole in your head and bleed you out if you had a headache. But these days, you just can't do that anymore because the GPs are overwhelmed. Things are moving forward. You've got to take responsibility for your health, and your GP is something that works in partnership with you. But you are the builder when it comes to your health. The GP is the contractor. He's the carpenter. And then you might have a chiro who's the plumber, and you might have a naturopath who's the electrician. And there's this team, but you are the builder. You're responsible for the project. And when you take that sort of approach to your health can be awesome. When you take that approach to health, the journey around health can be really awesome. And I reckon that's the same with building. Own the project, and it's a great process then.
Yeah, and I think when you have a really good design, that takes a huge amount of the pressure away because I have the map, right? It needs to look like this. That's my only responsibility. Understand the design and just hold them accountable to that. But there's a lot of learning to do. Tie beams and joists, and I'm just learning a new language. So, yeah.
So is the aim to pick
I never kind of worked out the joist and the bearer. I never kind of got that.
Yeah.
He'd go, mate, we've got to sort this out. And I'd go, which is which anyway?
Which is which, and studs, and I've got a lot of language to learn, and I'm we're nearly finished the design. So going through that with a fine tooth comb and just understanding. The designer's really, he'll give you, you can ask him and he'll often say yes. There's a point where he's going to cut me off, but I need to find that point. And so I'm just going to hound him once he's finished the design and see, how much I can learn. But yeah, exciting and daunting a little bit because you just hear so many disaster stories. As you said, I think people hand the reins over and it's hit and miss. And here it definitely seems to be a culture around you need to be here for everything. So
that's cool. What about you?
Man, I just got back from Indo too. We spent a cheeky weekend there.
Just come a little closer to the camera. Show me your eyes.
Mate, my eyes are great. There is a four halo lights behind the camera, but that's irrelevant. No, we went to Jakarta Thursday afternoon through Monday morning. So it was literally there.
Jakarta.
Yeah, for 4.5 days. So we arrived early Monday morning. We had an overnight flight, which was great, and ready to seize the day Monday. And it was good.
How was Jakarta? What was like? Is it?
Mate, it was
like a big city. Yeah?
It was great.
Big city.
I liked it. It was better than I expected. I think. I wasn't sure exactly what to expect in Jakarta. I think more big city and not much happening. It was actually quite cool. It was actually quite cool.
What prompted this trip? Were you with the family or is this?
Nah, just the boys.
Friend,
just the boys. Yeah, so the four of us.
That's where those pictures were from. I thought that was in.
Yeah. Oh, you thought that was in Melbourne?
Yeah. I thought you were in Melbourne having a boys catch up.
Nah, so it was good. It was.
I thought you were talking about the pictures on the 7 News the other night. These guys that went Australia and Jakarta, these Australians that are being locked up.
No. We behaved. It was super fun. A lot of two really very, very cool rooftop bars, and one rooftop bar. It felt you were the higher than all the other buildings, and you're just so vast. It made Melbourne City look small. You see the edges of Melbourne City, right? When you go up high or something, you go, oh, there's a Yarra, there's Williamstown, oh, there's the ocean, and kind of that's it. This was just kept going and going. And because it's all high rises, it felt like all the entrances to places were secret. So they weren't you can't walk down a street. I feel like some other Southeast Asian countries, or even in Bali, you can walk down the street and go, let's go here. Let's go here. There's no there's certain areas that are signs, but not the places we went to. It was we'll get dropped off, and then it was you go in and there's no signs. You go, oh, we're going to this place, and they go, oh yes, come this way, level 8, and you go up to level 8, and there's it's behind some secret door of this little nook and cranny kind of speakeasy type place. So it was cool. It was very cool.
Why Jakarta? What prompted a trip to Jakarta?
Because no one goes to Jakarta.
Yeah.
That was the main one. I think no one goes to Jakarta. Flights were super, super cheap. And it was let's try it, right? Let's try it and see what's it all about. So
very cool.
No, it was awesome. It was.
And the hotel was good?
Oh, epic. We stayed at the Shangri-La and it was really good. We had a pre-dinner service every night. It was an open bar and at the Horizon Club. So Shangri-La, this is your plug here. Next time, comp our stay, please. So it was it was good. And the weird thing was during the day, we were where are the people at the hotel? Granted, and we know Jakarta's probably I don't know when Jakarta's busy season is, or if they have a busy season.
Always.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's a lot of hotels there, so we were it wasn't during the day by the pool, wasn't chuckers, and I was where? But then again, aware that there was no big conference in town. I think sometimes when there's a big conference, then all the hotels get busy. But the Qantas crew were staying at the same place, so But yeah, no, it was good. It was clean. The service was epic. And what we probably realised was probably all of Indonesian people, they're genuinely nice. Like we found, and sometimes you hear some of the horror stories of some parts of Southeast Asia where people get scammed and go, yeah, come in for a free drink somewhere, and you come in and then there's like next thing you know, your bill's a couple $100 or something like that. And you're like, no, well, I only came in for the free drink. And they were all just like genuinely just nice people and want to help you and go, yep, come this way. And met some random people at one of the bars we were at, and then they bought a round of drinks, and then they go, oh, let's go, we'll go to the next place. And we're like, okay, sure. And they were just very hospitable people for no, like it seemed like for no reason, like just genuine, which was super fascinating. And they were all hello, thank you, all of that, and super just grateful, which is really cool to see. I think it doesn't happen enough here in Western culture.
Just look out for the mysterious credit card transactions coming off your credit card.
True. Very true. A possibility.
No, you're right, mate. And like we were thinking that in Bali, just amazing service, beautiful hotels, incredible grounds. Did we talk about this just recently? And yet we ask ourselves, like, why can't we do that in Australia? Why can't we have just incredible hotels with incredible service in Australia? Is it because they have not a service, but I'm here to serve mindset, that calmer mindset, that I don't know what I mean, the service is good in Australia, but it's always like next level.
Mate, it is.
They might go out, they want to know your name, they want to shake your hands, they want to know your name, and then they don't forget your name for the rest of the time you're holidaying there.
It's absolutely phenomenal. Like, absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, again, parts of Australia, service is good, but chalk and cheese. Was one place with Dad, and we would get up and go to the bathroom, and when you came back, before you sat down, there was someone there waiting for you with a hot towel. And one of the guys went a couple of times to the bathroom, but each time wasn't just the first time, another fresh hot towel for you. And like the coasters were...
Doesn't wash his hands. Someone spotted him.
He goes, let's just make sure he washes his hands.
Keep sending him towels.
So, yeah, it's interesting. And we were actually talking about this yesterday. Like in Australia, and obviously, I think Australia or Victoria, like everyone's like there was a wage increase, right? And so you get paid, say, $30 an hour to show up and potentially show up late. Where these guys and girls are on a fraction of that, early, and giving you world-class service.
I had my friend just left, and he's come from Western Australia. He said that he found the service overbearing. He said, we sit down and we have our coffee, breakfast comes out, and you literally... The restaurant we were eating at, it's called Munchies. There's a little plug for you guys. There's maybe capacity's probably 80 people. They probably turn it over 3 times in the morning, maybe. So they're busy. But literally you put your cup down and someone's there to grab it. And sometimes you drink your coffee, you get to and you just let it sit. And I must have been hounded like 5 times by someone trying to take my coffee. I'm like, no, it's fine. When I'm finished, you can take it if you really want. Like, you can never finish something without someone wanting to take it. And he was saying, it feels like they're really friendly and outgoing, but it feels like you're constantly, you're on the move. You can't just relax. I was like, that's curious. But they've all gone to the same school. There's a hospitality. There must be a giant hospitality place in Bali where everyone goes because they all do the exact same process. Can I repeat your order to you? which I found curious. Definitely it's a high standard, but I don't know. I feel like some of the genuineness might not be there because they've all got this same, I don't know, same process. I think Bali is definitely number one for customer service. There's something about that culture as well. I think their culture, they're so kind and soft, gentle, definitely authentic. I don't think the service is as good here, but it's getting better.
I think, one of the things I was talking to one of the breakfast managers and Budi, and we got chatting. He's been there 28 years working at the Intercon in Bali there, Jim Byron, for 28 years. He loves it. He said, I leave home, I leave all my worries behind, I come to work. There's family here. Like we have our leadership meeting in the morning. We talk about, anything that wrap up from yesterday, what's going on today, what's happening in the hotel. I'm here, I'm serving customers. I just love serving customers. And then we finish the shift and then we do an end of day debrief, like what happened, what do we need to think about for tomorrow. He said, then I go home. He said, it's just such a great place to work. I said, so, what's the management like here? He said, it's really good. The management here at this hotel is really good. Like, how often do you hear that kind of? Yeah, maybe it's an amazing hotel or maybe it's got amazing management. Or is it his
there's an emotional connection there, right? If he says love, like how many people say they love their work, Like often it's, I like my job. But love is, they're doing something right if they love going to work, and he's been going for 24 years.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing.
What do you guys think it is? And why is it not common in Western society?
Well, that's interesting. And I don't know the answer, but because the Intercontinental is a big brand and they're all around the world. I don't know whether in Australia, but I don't know whether if I went to Intercon in Melbourne, would it be the same? Is it an Intercon thing or is it a cultural thing? My experience is hotels change as you move around the world. If I go to the Hyatt in Melbourne, different to the service I'm going to get at the Hyatt in Bali.
I wonder if it is a large part of that, like cultural. There's a natural gratitude that Southeast Asian people tend to really have, like honor it almost. And I wonder if that's a big part of it, like they're really happy easily. If they have a good job, they're happy and content with it and grateful, versus sometimes our mentality of always wanting more. Like there's a point where they seem to be content with what they have genuinely and enjoy what they're doing. Which, I definitely, Lombok and Bali have a different cultural thing. I would definitely say the customer service, I think what you guys are describing is definitely Bali's mastered that. And I think that Hindu culture as well really comes out. When I speak to people, they say, it's just so warm and genuine in Bali. Whereas here, I don't want to talk them down, but it's different. It is different. It's less caring, more playful, like cheeky almost. It's like a fun environment here versus that 5-star luxury. Someone comes in and they serve you and you feel a calm energy the moment you talk to them and they're really engaging. There's definitely a difference.
What do you think, John?
I wonder if it's the gratitude. What do you think, Ganesh?
I think it is potentially the gratitude. Each time we chose to say tip someone or have a conversation with them, they would I think they were surprised. They weren't expecting it. And the amount of thank yous we got back, it's like maybe $5 here, $10 there, but it was a big deal for them. And if you had time out of your day to say, hey, how are you doing? Or where do you recommend Where do you recommend we
Yeah,
go?
that's true.
Like, they were super grateful to go, oh, you want my opinion? Which was awesome. And all the spots that we went to were all given to us by locals, right? And so I think there's like a innate something about that culture or they get brought up with in terms of that brings that gratefulness. And it's like I think there's something about like potentially some simple. I was going to say like simpleness, but however, some places we went to weren't necessarily simple, and they were still like genuinely just nice people. There was no, when you go to some like a restaurant or a cafe, and yeah, I get it. Everyone's maybe having a bad day, but there's someone there that like, oh, maybe they should smile a little bit more, right? And you're like, I'm not going to say that to them, but there was none of that. Like they seem like genuinely happy to be there, and I don't know. Sometimes I wouldn't say it's putting it on because there's certain times that like they were just standing at the bar waiting to serve someone, and no one else was there, so they not really know someone's looking or waiting. So I think grateful and appreciative, right? Appreciative of going, oh, I'm here. I've got a really good job. I've got a job that is that pays the bills, that I get to meet people.
People though too, aren't they? Curious, I think as well. Like genuinely curious. Where are you from? Not, like sometimes in Western world, people ask, "Where are you from?" or "What do you do?" Because I'm trying to gauge how much respect I should give you, not because I'm curious about where you're from and what you do and how you think. Whereas
Did you talk
Indonesian,
about that last time, Matt?
I don't think so. Did we?
Yeah, no, maybe you didn't. Maybe that was something I was listening to recently, but it was exactly that. People want to know who you are to decide how they want to treat you.
Yeah, whereas they seem genuinely curious, like based on your personality, where are you from? Oh, and you feel that sometimes.
I think in Western culture we have it's interesting. It probably happens more in a high school setting, but definitely kind of happens as adults. Is that people ask those questions at the start to gauge on where are you on their scale. Right, and go, all right, my threshold's a 5 out of 10 on my rating system, and everyone's got their own little rating system. If you're a 6 and above, great, I'll chat to you. If you're 9 and above, I want to be your friend. But it's like these qualifying questions, which is like, are you my people? Are you interesting? And am I going to get potential value out of you? Which is, it's annoying, it's fascinating, but it's also, I see it happen around me. And you're like, oh, dude, that person's still a nice person. Like it might not be in your scale, but you just now, it doesn't give you permission to be cold or rude. But I think that's what usually happens here, unfortunately.
I think here's two thoughts that came to mind. They're really content with their lot. Say they're content with their lot. They got that. This is just. Well, I don't mean this is just right, but I'm going to say it that way. This is just their lot in life. This is kind of the wage. There's only far up the ladder they can go, and they've just accepted that that's just the way it is, and they make the absolute best of that. They're content with what they've got. They're not always striving for the next thing. They're content in their job and their lifestyle, and yet I think we're always going like, this is good, but I wonder what could be better. I wonder what could be better. I wonder if there's another job out there. We have, yeah.
And I think it's all consuming in our culture. Like what you do, the answer is your job. Whereas you ask an Indonesian what they do, and they'll tell you all the other things that they do. It's not their job. Like, I think that's the community, the village. Like, work is a part of life. It isn't your life. You know what I mean? It's like, it's as you said, it's a means to an end, but their happiness, so much of the other aspect of their life, their community, their family, they know like 50, 60 people, 70 people, 80 people, like they know them all by name. Like I don't have that many family. I have 7 of us, and I speak to them rarely. I speak to my mum and dad, whereas they're interacting with mum, cousin, auntie, uncle, cousin, brother, sister. I feel like that's part of it too, that they've got this really close community. Whereas for us as well, a lot of people, work is their community. Like they go to work, they spend all their day at work, they come home, they don't get much time with their family and friends. I imagine Melbourne in winters particularly like that. You leave at 7, you come back at 7, it's dark, you meet one person other than people that you work with. I wonder if that plays into it too. Appreciation, gratitude.
What's the other thing too that I've always found interesting is we rock up. You have these breakfasts and these lunches and these dinners that cost their weekly wage. You have lunch and it's their weekly wage, and you lay by the pool, and you order the cocktails, and and you do the activities, the mountain biking activity in Bali, whatever, that costs their monthly wage. It's kind of like, imagine arriving in a town where you're driving an old Ford Ranger like Logan's, the motor's about to break down, and the town is just full of Ferraris. Like, I don't know, I'd feel
resentful.
I'd feel challenged. I feel
annoyed.
Resentful. I'd be annoyed.
Jealous, maybe.
It'd alter my sense of self-worth. Like...
That happens. Sure, that happens. But you don't see it. You don't see it regularly, do you?
I just don't see it at all. Like, they turn up and they give an amazing service, and at some level they have reconciled that they're going to drive the Ford pickup. And we say the Ford pickup, but maybe it's not. Because like you said, Maddie, they've got an incredible environment. They've got great family. They're healthy.
They've got spirituality, or they've got their, Hindus have that beautiful culture where I don't really understand it. But
the other side, sorry to cut you off there, Matty, but we met like in Jakarta, we met like a lot of locals and like English speaking locals. So they were patrons at some of the places we were at. And they're still very genuine, nice people. Right? So there's no like Ford pickup to Ferrari. They're probably driving the Ferrari too because they're a patron here. But they're genuinely nice people. Like
that's true. Like that's really true. I accidentally bumped into, so I was at Maui, this surf break. It's beautiful in the middle of nowhere. And I was just leaving after a surf, and this Indonesian guy walks up to me, and he's in like board shorts and a shirt, and it looks so wrong. Like, it just doesn't look right. And he comes straight up to me and he's like,
doesn't that look right?
I'll explain, because he's obviously like, he's worn suits his whole life. He's like a very, very wealthy Jakartan, but he's dressed down. And I didn't work this out until afterwards when I saw the car that he got in. And there's never cars there, right? This is in the middle of nowhere. It's a surf break. And he's this just really engaging, curious guy's like, hi, my name, and can't remember his name. He's like, I want to ask you a few questions. I'm like, yeah, no worries. He's like, why do you come here? Why do people come here? He's asking me all these questions about this. And then I was just, giving him the information, friendly, and said goodbye. And then I saw as he was walking away, every single person that worked there had turned up, and everyone was wearing their best clothes, and everyone was super friendly and respectful. And it was just behavior I hadn't really seen before. And then I saw him shaking everyone's hand, and I saw him get in like a blacked out car. And obviously he's the owner. He owns this whole massive area of land, and he's thinking of developing. So he's just gathering information. But he's literally he's obviously a very big deal, but he's out there interviewing every single person, trying to gauge information, and super, like, genuinely really nice guy. And he drives out and the window comes down. I'm getting on a dirt bike. I look like a mess of, and he just, oh, Matt, thanks for your time. Have a great day. And off he goes. And I just found that really curious that, as Janesh said, this guy is insanely wealthy. Like some of these Indonesian in Bali, family money's insane. Like the gap's humongous. You got some of the most affluent people and then people that are incredibly, incredibly poor. So and Jakarta must have been like that, Janesh. You must have seen a huge amount of affluence because there's
mate, it was
business central.
Yeah, there definitely was, and it was like, but it was only one place we went to had probably like expats in there. All the other places we went to, like, had it was locals, but it was like it's probably still cheaper than Melbourne prices, or maybe some places are equivalent to Melbourne prices. But I would assume that would be considered very expensive over there, like compared to Bali prices, right? Some of the dinners and the drinks were like a lot more expensive, like double or triple. So I was like, hold on, these people are like probably on, like, are successful, are wealthy here, being locals, being able to afford some of this stuff, and super not like, you don't get that. You don't get just like a random person having a conversation in Australia, I should say, often, because they always think there's a motive of, hey, what do you want? Or what do you need? Like, if a guy at a bar or restaurant says hello or starts talking to a female, like, at times there's this like connotation of, oh, he's trying to pick her up, or vice versa. Or if a guy and the guy just talks, it's like, oh, well, what's going on here? Sometimes there's not assumed best intentions, where they're like, oh, they're just happy to help. Then they're genuinely curious, and then they hear an Australian accent, and it's not common here. It does happen here, but it's not common. It was refreshing though. It was super refreshing.
My Indonesian friends still rave about Australians. They say we're the nicest. Out of all the nationalities, they have a lot of positive things to say about Aussies. Not in Bali, though. We've got a bit of a negative persona there.
That's interesting, because Booty was saying Aussies are his favourite. This isn't a market hotel. The bottom of the barrel Aussies aren't at the Intercon.
No.
Yeah.
And he said Aussies great. He said Europeans, they're good, but they're really like they just want detailed, like, all the ducks in a line service, the knife and fork kind of lined up, and everything's got to be right. But they're pleasant. He said you just got to treat them with military precision. If they're Aussie, for example, has a fork on there's no fork on their breakfast table. They'll go, oh, mate, can I grab a fork? And you'll go, oh, I'll get it for you. You go, no hurry, just whenever. Just get, I need a fork. Whereas for the Europeans, he said for the Indians, he said, you can't give them an inch. If they sense weakness, then you're doomed for the rest of service. He said they'll be all over you. He said, so sometimes you've just got to, I've got to discipline them. I've got to pull them in line. I've got to let them know that, that we are giving you great service, and your fork will be here in just a moment, and be patient.
And you can't have another bread roll because you've had 20.
Yes. So he said they treat them differently, but he said the Aussies are his absolute favourite, and I don't think he was saying that just because I was an Aussie. But
great customer service.
He's very good at what he does. I
don't know what it is about this guy, Michelle, but I like him.
Yeah, we're gonna tip him. We're gonna tip him well when we leave.
You guys are cynics. But I can imagine from the few Aussies that I have seen in in areas like Kuta,
Oh, it's disgrace. It's disgraceful. Like it's embarrassing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I try to be an ambassador here, and we're well respected here because again,
There's not
it's
many of
too
you.
far off the beat. It's too far off the beaten path.
Uh-huh.
Most of them are decent, but it's a matter of time until the Bintang Bali Australians come over and fuck it up for everyone.
Yeah, wow. I want to go back to Ben. You're talking about contentment, right? And striving. Can you have both? Can you be content and strive, or is there an ultimatum? I think people think there is an ultimatum, and commonly it is an ultimatum sometimes. And if you try to do both, it's perceived as you're never happy and you always want the next thing. But how do you, either one, is there a way to do both? And two, how do you think people can do it well?
Yeah. I heard, and I'm going to say Brad Schofield, and it could be the wrong answer. That may not be the dude. He was recently interviewed on a Rich Roll podcast. And he talks about rugged flexibility. This idea of ruggedness and flexible. You're rugged and you're flexible. And he's saying that's that you still have plans, you still pursue something, but you're flexible in the journey in that pursuit. You just get that life happens, but you're rugged at the same time, flexible and rugged. How does that apply to pursuit and contentment? What would be what's the rugged flexibility in pursuit contentment?
That's a great question.
How would you
flexibility
to pursuit contentment?
All I can think of is Bruce Lee's "Be like water, my friend." That seems to explain it in my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But where's the contentment? Contentment for me feels a bit like I'm all good with what I've got. I don't need any more to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're saying, though, you might go, hey, I'd like some more. But if I don't have more, I'm all good with what I've got. So for me, that feels like it's like I'm all good as I am. It's all good with what I have around me. Are you all good if what you have around you is taken away? Is that could you still be content?
I think it depends where your contentment lies, doesn't it? Is it in your surroundings, in the environment you've created, in the things you possess and own that make you comfortable, or is your contentment in who you are? Because if you're content with who you are, you can take anything away from that person. They're still content. They still have hopes, dreams, and aspirations, which they can still pursue. Like, it's like, can you be grateful with what you have as you still have a vision for the future you want? That's the dream, I think.
Why do you think striving or pursuit is, at times, I should say, perceived as not content? When someone might be genuinely content, they go, look, you know what? I wanna apply myself, put myself out there, but it's perceived by people not potentially striving. They're not content. Why is that? Is that Australia tall poppy syndrome? What is that? And it's when you try to call someone out on tall poppy syndrome, they're like, no, I'm just saying I'm content on where I am, and that person is not content, and they're always chasing the next thing. And they might be chasing the next thing, they might not be content, but it's
is it in their language, their body language, their tonality? Is it in their words? You sense there's an unhappiness. Yeah, that there's an unhappiness around where they're at. Their happiness would come if they got that, and that there's a tension between those two things. have you guys seen the Blue Zone stuff yet? Live to 100.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So the big thing that came out for me for that is that these guys don't have a weekly target, or a monthly target. They don't have a quarterly goal or a yearly goal. They don't even have a 5-year goal. They just have living. And I'm going to turn up and do the thing, and the thing will either move me forward or it'll move me back. And they never have an end point. They don't have an end point to do what they're doing. They're just going to do it until they can no longer do it.
And they do it well, like insanely well. Like They take pride in the, like Will Smith says, if you don't build a wall, you lay a brick perfectly. And you do that enough times, you build a wall. It's that principle of complete attention in what they're doing. And then the joy comes from the action, not what it's going to get them.
Yeah. So they don't have that target. It just don't see, doesn't seem to feel that way. And again, I know we get the snippets, but it doesn't feel like, and it's a lost generation, I think. I mean, he talks about that at the end of the doco, that a couple of those blue zones aren't blue zones anymore. In fact, I think when it came to Okinawa, one of the fattest countries on the planet.
Wow.
Yeah. At the end of the doco, I'm pretty sure it was Okinawa, totally transformed, high levels of heart disease and blah, blah, blah. That I think that's a bit of a lost generation. And it was a generation that said, I'm just going to go to work every day until I can't go to work anymore. And there were no targets.
There was that pursuit for excellence, though, wasn't it? That was the only goal. There was a pursuit for excellence in whatever they were doing, whether they were gardening or building pottery or design, particularly in that Japanese culture, excellence, crafting and making things better than anyone can.
They had all the time in the world to get there, though. They didn't have to get there by the end of the year.
And that crosses over with that principle of flow as well, like a complete attention in the task, and then you get these periods of flow, where supreme human performance or results come from. It seems that way of living and that pursuit of excellence really enable them to tap into that process. And Flow talks about, the attention is super important. Whereas now we live in a society where you're distracted by so many things and we're multitasking. The actual joy doesn't seem to be there, that sense of connection to the task, because you're not actually in it. It's one of 12 tasks you're trying to do all at the same time. There's seem to be, when you look at those blue zones, real fulfillment in simple tasks, whereas we're distracted or pissed off or frustrated with simple tasks because we're trying to multitask and do complex tasks while doing simple ones.
And I wonder if that... And they're happy doing that one task. They're genuinely going, I'm going to weed the garden. Weed the garden, a simple task is not a chore. I think we tend to look at some simple tasks as a chore, and that's what we try and do 3 or 4 of them at a time and go, let's get them all out of the way.
Get it done. Yeah.
They're not finding the joy. We don't find the joy enough in their simple tasks where they're like, I'm just weeding the garden. That's all I need to do. And
that's their meditation, right? Like they actually are so present that becomes a meditation. Whereas for me, that sometimes, if I'm going to be honest, it's the 6th thing on the list. And I'm like, how fucking fast can I run this mile around the lawn so I can get that task done, so I can go wash my car, so I can do that.
And during that, you've got your headphones in, you're listening to music or listening to something else while you're doing that.
Sent 2 emails in between having a chug of water because I've got 12 things on my list and I'm trying to hit them all. Interesting.
There is a cool book. It's called One, which is actually really cool. It's about just doing one thing.
The one thing.
And distilling down what is that one thing. And the premise is like the one thing that is that can be dominoes, that can cause a domino effect, as opposed to pushing 6 things around, down, do one thing, and what is your one thing that will have the most flow-on effect? That one thing that what is your one domino that is in front of all the others, or where can you move it to?
That's such a cool principle. I use that. Like, I make my bed. That's the first thing I do, because I remember somewhere along the line I heard some admiral talks his wicked motivational speech about make your bed, and it works. It absolutely works. If you I focus on making my bed, and then when I make my bed, the next task comes to you, and you feel motivated. It's so true. It makes sense. One thing at a time.
Fellas,
I think the idea. Well, I'll do my wrap with this, but since seeing that live to 100 thing, I've been contemplating the idea of taking my time to get there, not being in such a rush, and just doing less. Trying kind of doing a bit less in the day, and it'll get done tomorrow, and it's okay. It's okay if it takes me 2 weeks to do the thing instead of 1 week to do the thing, because I got forever. All well and good, but the rest of the world, they still want it done yesterday. Your team still want it done yesterday. Your team have still got goals that they've set for the week or the month or the year. Your team have still just bought a new house, and they want the business to grow so they can get more hours and be paid more and, build their bigger home. Your clients still want to achieve their goal at the end of the week. And so they need you to turn up today and get that stuff done for them today. The rest of the world is still searching for the next bigger and better thing. And they don't have the time for you to take forever to get the thing done. So that's been an interesting feeling, to feel that difference of where I'd like to just kind of, I'll get there, when I get there, versus the rest of the world is still saying, I need it yesterday. So, yeah, my advice to our listeners today would just be, try it on. And I think I've talked about this before on the podcast. You can imagine if you worked 4 days a week, you'd get to the end of the week. I don't know whether you guys have ever done this 4 days a week, but there's some stuff that's still left undone in the to-do list. You ever notice that? You get to the end of the week and there's to-do. So, I realised that, and so I started working Fridays, and I'd get to Friday night, and of course, everything was checked off. Everything was done. There were still things left on my to-do.
Still more stuff. Yeah.
So I started working Saturdays, because I thought if I work Saturdays, I'll definitely get everything done. And there was still stuff left on my to-do list. So I started working Sundays as well, 7 days a week. And there was still stuff left on my list to be done. That's not true, of course. I never worked more than 4 days ever. But there's always more to be done. There's always more to be done. You're never going to get it all done. And so if that is true, why not just work 4 days a week? Why not finish at 5 o'clock and leave just the to-do list left for the next day and the next day? And just trying that on, fitting less into your diary, saying no to more things rather than yes to more things, creating more space in your week. That would be my little try-on experiment for our listeners. What about you boys, Matty?
I'm going to leverage off that. Something came to me when you were saying that, and I think it ties in with what we were saying around some of the cultural differences we've noticed from Southeast Asia versus Australia. Do less, be more. So if your sense of self-worth is tied in how many things you can tick off a to-do list, and you're never going to be able to tick off enough, you're never going to be enough. So exactly what you were saying, just reinforcing that, you put more value on who you're being in each moment, in each interaction, as opposed to the to-do list of how much value you can create by things you can do. It's how much value can you create by who you're being. So like that Indonesian person that meets you and greets you, but they're really curious and they're appreciative and they're grateful and they seemingly don't have a lot. It's not about what they have, it's who they are. So yeah, let's focus on that, on maybe letting go of some of the to-do things and just focusing on maybe being more present in that conversation with that person, being more curious, being more grateful.
Mm.
Yeah, it feels true.
Nice. Jay?
My try on would be there's two there. Is the try on childlike, not childish, childlike curiosity in other people. Right? As kids, as like say even in kinder, right? Everyone's curious about everyone. Everyone wants to play with everyone. And in prep, it's still the same, and then it kind of fiddles out a little bit, and they come up to their social norms and go, "Oh, you're cool, you're not cool," blah blah. But kids at kinder and prep, they don't care. They genuinely want to know. They genuinely want to play with someone, with anyone. Yeah, and I would say try that on as an adult and be genuinely curious in other people, and like that's what we found in Jakarta. They were genuine, and they were genuine. They were happy to learn about other people. That would be one of my try-ons. The other one is simplify.
Too, mate.
I know, but simplify. Again, still similar to what you guys were saying. They do less, but simplify and go. What would be your what would be your one thing that potentially can flow on? And in that one thing, how do you be super present? No headphones, no podcast. Just do that thing and do that thing to the best of your ability. And it might be something that you're a beginner at, but do that to the best of your ability and genuinely find joy in it. Yeah.
Just hit it out of the park. Great advice. Love it.
Fellas, thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Great session. Good boys. Have an amazing week.
Will do.
Thank you very much.
Till next time, everyone. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Lifelong Learner. If you like this episode and want to know more and hear other episodes, head over to lifelonglearnerpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter, where you'll be the first to know when new podcast episodes come out. And if you want to say hello, tell us a joke, or ask us a question, send us an email at hello@lifelonglearnerpodcast.com. Thanks again.